The battle above Coruscant raged like a storm of fire and metal. Republic Star Destroyers exchanged devastating broadsides with Separatist warships, while Vulture droids swarmed through the chaos like angry hornets. Through it all, 2 Jedi starfighters carved impossible paths, spiraling between turbo laser fire and missile trails as they pursued their target, the massive flagship where Chancellor Palpatine was being held captive. Anakin Skywalker's hands moved with supernatural precision across the fighter's controls, the Force flowing through him like lightning. Beside him, Obi-Wan Kenobi matched his movements in perfect synchronization, their bond stronger than any communication system. They had done it, rescued the Chancellor from General Grievous's clutches, left Count Dooku's headless corpse cooling on the deck of that doomed ship. The battle was won, the Chancellor saved, and yet, that night in the quiet sanctuary of his apartment in the Temple District, Anakin jolted awake, his body drenched in cold sweat. The vision had been so vivid, so real he could still hear the echoes of Padme's screams. She had been dying in childbirth, crying out his name while he stood helpless, watching the light fade from her beautiful eyes. His mechanical hand clenched involuntarily, servos whining under the strain. The chrono read 0400 hours. Dawn was still distant, but Anakin knew sleep would not return, not after what he had seen. The vision felt different from a mere nightmare. It carried the same terrible weight as the dreams of his mother, the ones that had haunted him until he found her broken body in that Tusken camp. The Force was trying to tell him something, warn him of a future rushing toward them like a runaway speeder. He dressed quickly, careful not to wake Padme, who slept peacefully beside him. The secret they carried grew heavier each day, their marriage, their love, and now the child that would soon make hiding impossible. Anakin pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead before slipping out to the pre-dawn darkness of Coruscant. The Jedi Temple never truly slept. Even at this hour, knights returning from missions moved through its halls, younglings practiced forms in distant training rooms, and the eternal flame of the Force burned bright in its sacred spaces. Anakin's feet carried him not to his own quarters, but to a familiar door. He raised his flesh hand and knocked. Obi-Wan answered within moments, fully dressed despite the hour, a habit from countless campaigns where readiness meant survival. His eyes, still sharp despite the exhaustion of yesterday's battle, immediately noticed the distress written across his former Padawan's face. "Anakin, what's wrong?" "Master, I've been having visions, dreams, like the ones about my mother, but this time it's Padme. I see her dying during childbirth." The silence that followed stretched between them like a chasm. Obi-Wan's expression shifted through surprise, understanding, and something that might have been disappointment before settling into deep concern. "Childbirth, Anakin? That would suggest..." "She's pregnant. We're married, Obi-Wan. We've been since the beginning of the war." Obi-Wan sank slowly into a chair, one hand stroking his beard, a gesture Anakin recognized as his master processed difficult information. "I suspected something. Your attachment to her was never exactly subtle, though I'd hoped. The Council will need to know about this, Anakin. Not just the marriage, but especially these visions. If they're prophetic like your dreams of Shmi, the Council will expel me. They'll take away everything I've worked for, everything I am. Perhaps they'll recognize that a Jedi having visions of death, prophetic visions, is more important than maintaining rigid adherence to the code. The war has changed many things, Anakin. The Council has had to adapt in ways they never imagined. Trust in them. Trust in Master Yoda's wisdom." Before we move on, I'd like to ask a small favor. If you're enjoying this video so far, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch these videos without subscribing. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed. We all thank you for your continued support. The Council chamber felt smaller than usual that morning, despite only half its seating being filled. Master Windu sat rigid in his chair, his fingers steepled before him. Master Yoda's eyes were closed, though Anakin knew the ancient Jedi Master missed nothing. Masters Plo Koon and Ki-Adi-Mundi occupied their traditional seats, while Obi-Wan stood beside Anakin in the center of the circle, a show of support that didn't go unnoticed. "Troubling these visions are. Similar to your dreams of mother, you say?" "Yes, Master, the same feeling, the same certainty. In the vision, she dies giving birth to our child." "Your child? You've broken the code, Skywalker. Attachment is forbidden, marriage even more so. You've compromised everything the Order stands for." The chamber erupted in a controlled debate. Obi-Wan defended his former Padawan, pointing out that the war had already compromised many of their principles. They led armies, made decisions costing thousands of lives. Was Anakin's attachment truly their most pressing concern when prophetic visions were at stake? Ki-Adi-Mundi raised concerns about the suspicious timing, so close to the Chancellor's rescue and growing political power. Plo Koon reminded them all that Senator Amidala was instrumental to the peace movement. Her death could destabilize the entire Republic. Through it all, Yoda remained silent, his gimmer stick tapping thoughtfully against the floor. The ancient master had seen Anakin's prophetic dreams come true before. Shmi Skywalker's death had proven the visions were more than mere nightmares. Twice before, prophetic dreams you have had. Your mother's death, prevented it was not. Senator Amidala's death, different this time must be. Masters, I request permission to investigate potential threats to Senator Amidala. Discreetly, of course. We need to determine whether these visions are natural or manufactured. Yoda and Windu exchanged a long look, one of those silent conversations that came from centuries of working together. Finally, Yoda nodded. Investigate you will, Master Kenobi, but you, involved in this investigation, will not be. Clouded by attachment, your judgment is. Meditation and reflection you need. Understand the source of these visions you must. Yes, Master. The Senate district hummed with its usual energy as Obi-Wan made his way through the crowds, his Jedi robes drawing the usual mixture of respect and wariness from passersby. His cover story was simple enough, reviewing security protocols for high-profile senators in light of the recent kidnapping attempt. No one questioned a Jedi's diligence after the Chancellor's narrow escape. Padme received him in her office with practiced political grace, though he caught the flicker of concern in her eyes. She knew about Anakin's confession to the Council. Her husband could hide nothing from her. Master Kenobi, I assume this isn't a social visit. I'm afraid not, Senator. I need access to your medical records, your recent schedule, any threats you've received, anything that might represent a danger to you. Padme's hand moved unconsciously to her abdomen, a gesture she quickly suppressed. Anakin told you about the dreams. He told the entire council. They've agreed to investigate, though Anakin himself has been recused from the matter. Recused? How diplomatic. He must be climbing the walls. Master Yoda has him in deep meditation, actually, trying to understand the nature of these visions. Now, about those medical records. Meanwhile, in the depths of the temple, Anakin sat cross-legged in one of the meditation chambers, his eyes closed, but his mind anything but peaceful. Master Yoda sat across from him, the force flowing between them like a river. Feel the vision again you must. Not the fear, not the pain, the source. Where comes this image from? Anakin let himself sink back into the nightmare, fighting every instinct that screamed at him to pull away. Padme's face swam before him, pale and sweating, her voice calling his name. But this time, guided by Yoda's presence, he looked beyond the surface. There was something else there, something dark and oily that clung to the edges of the vision like smoke. There's something else, a presence, watching, waiting. Influenced these visions are. Not false, but shaped, directed. Someone wants you to see this, young Skywalker. The question is, why? The Chancellor's office was bathed in the red light of the setting sun when Anakin arrived, summoned by an urgent message. Anakin, my boy, I heard the most distressing news. The Council has confined you to the temple? Not confined, Chancellor. They want me to meditate on my visions while Master Kenobi investigates. Ah yes, your visions. You know, the Jedi are not the only ones who understand the Force's mysteries. During my captivity, General Grievous said something peculiar. He mentioned ancient Sith knowledge, the power to prevent death itself. Prevent death? Oh, I'm sure it's just legend. The Jedi would certainly dismiss such things. They're so certain their way is the only way. Tell me, what do they plan to do about Senator Amidala? Assign her a bodyguard? Wave their lightsabers at your nightmares? They're investigating. Investigating? While your wife. Oh yes, my boy, I know about your marriage. I've known for some time. I've kept your secret because I believe love shouldn't be forgiven. But tell me, what will the Jedi do when their investigation is complete? Will they let you remain with her? Or will they use her pregnancy as leverage, forcing you to choose between the Order and your family? The words hit Anakin like a physical blow. He hadn't considered that angle, hadn't thought about what would happen after. They wouldn't they? The Jedi Code is quite clear about attachment, and now that they know about your child, well, imagine the power they'd have over you. Follow our rules, or never see your family again. Is that the compassion they preach? Palpatine returned to his desk, pulling out an ancient-looking datapad. I've been researching since my rescue, trying to understand what Grievous meant. There was a Sith Lord named Darth Plagueis who supposedly discovered the secret to preventing death. The Jedi would never seek such knowledge. They're too arrogant, too bound by their traditions. But a father trying to save his family? That's not dark side corruption, Anakin. That's love. The medical facility's records room was sterile and quiet, the only sound the hum of data servers. Obi-Wan had spent hours poring over Padme's medical files, and what he'd found was both reassuring and deeply troubling. He initiated a secure holocom to the Council. Her health is perfect. The pregnancy is progressing normally, twins actually. The medical droids project no complications. If anything, she's in remarkably good health for someone carrying twins. Then the visions are false? Not necessarily false, but possibly manufactured. I've been sensing something, Masters. A darkness that clings to the Senate building like a shadow. It's subtle, but it's there. Sense it too, I do. Growing stronger, the dark side is. Closer to the center of power, it moves. You think the Sith Lord is in the Senate. I think the Sith Lord isn't just in the Senate. I think he's been manipulating events from a position of significant authority. The timing of Anakin's visions, right after the Chancellor's rescue. Careful, Master Kenobi. Accusations like that require proof. Then we'll get proof. But Masters, we need to act carefully. If I'm right, then Anakin is being specifically targeted. These visions aren't just prophetic, they're bait. At that moment, Obi-Wan noticed something else in the medical files. A scheduled appointment that had been mysteriously cancelled and rescheduled multiple times, always by Senate authority override. Each cancellation coincided with times when Padme would have been off-planet, making it impossible for her to attend. Someone was deliberately keeping her from regular medical check-ins, ensuring any complications would go undetected until too late. The Chancellor's office had never felt more imposing than it did that afternoon. Mace Windu stood at the center of the delegation, his hand resting casually, but readily, on his lightsaber. Beside him, Anakin shifted uncomfortably, still uncertain why he'd been included in this confrontation. Yoda's hologram flickered from his position on Kashyyyk, the battle raging behind him temporarily forgotten. Bail Organa and several other senators waited in the anteroom, having insisted on witnessing this discussion of emergency powers, Obi-Wan's suggestion to ensure witnesses. Chancellor, the Jedi Council has concerns about the expansion of your emergency powers. The war's nearly over. General Grievous is on the run. The Separatist leadership is in disarray. It's time to discuss returning authority to the Senate. Master Windu, everything I've done has been for the safety of the Republic. Surely young Anakin here can attest to my dedication to peace. After all, I've always been supportive of him, even in masters the Jedi Council might disapprove of. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Mace's eyes narrowed dangerously. And what matters would those be, Chancellor? Oh, merely that I believe the Jedi could learn from their emotions rather than suppressing them. Fear, for instance. Fear of loss. It's such a powerful motivator. Imagine what one might do to save those they love. The Sith understand this. They used their passions as strength. Choose your words carefully, Chancellor. Dangerous ground you tread. I'm merely making a philosophical point, Master Yoda. After all, if someone had the power to prevent death, to save someone from dying in, say, childbirth, wouldn't it be cruel to withhold that knowledge? Anakin went rigid. That was too specific, too pointed. Beside him, Mace's lightsaber was already in his hand, though not yet ignited. You know about the visions. I know many things, my boy. I know the Jedi fear what they can't control. I know they would let your wife die rather than embrace the power to save her. And I know that their time is ending. The transformation was instantaneous. The grandfatherly Chancellor vanished, replaced by something ancient and terrible. Darth Sidious rose from his chair, red lightsaber igniting with a sound like screaming souls. But this time, Anakin wasn't walking in on a battle already in progress. This time, he stood beside Mace Windu as the truth revealed itself in all its horror. You're the Sith Lord. You've been playing us all along. Playing you, my dear boy, I've been sculpting you. Every mission, every loss, every moment of doubt, all carefully orchestrated to bring you to this moment. Your mother's death, your visions of Padme, did you think these were coincidences? The rage that flooded through Anakin was volcanic, but Mace's steady presence beside him kept him grounded. Together, we take him together. The battle that followed was unlike anything in the archives. Sidious moved like crimson lightning, his blade a blur of malevolent energy. But where before he had faced a single opponent, now he faced two of the Order's finest warriors fighting in perfect synchronization. Mace's Vapad style created a kinetic loop, feeding Sidious's dark energy back at him, while Anakin's raw power and unpredictability kept the Sith Lord from establishing any rhythm. The Chancellor's office became a war zone. Furniture disintegrated, windows shattered, the very air crackled with force energy. Through it all, Sidious kept talking, his words aimed like daggers at Anakin's heart. She'll still die, you know. Only I have the knowledge to save her. Strike down Windu, and I'll share it freely. Let your wife die, or embrace your destiny. Choose. For a moment, just a moment, Anakin hesitated. His blade wavered as images of Padme filled his mind. In that instant, Sidious struck, force lightning erupting from his fingers. But instead of targeting Mace, he aimed at Anakin, gambling everything on turning the Chosen One in that crucial second. The lightning never reached its target. Mace's blade intercepted it, creating a feedback loop that sent Sidious staggering. Your mistake was thinking the Jedi stand alone. Anakin, now! Two blades moved as one. Sidious's lightsaber spun through the air, clattering across the ruined floor. The Sith Lord himself knelt between the two Jedi, his face a mask of fury and disbelief. Force binders, specially designed to contain Force users, clicked around his wrists. You think you've won? The Senate will never believe you. I am their beloved Chancellor, and you are religious zealots who attempt a coup. Really? Because from where we're standing, it looks like you just attacked two Jedi with a red lightsaber while ranting about being a Sith Lord. We heard everything, Palpatine. Your confession, your threats, your admission to orchestrating the war. Masameda, Palpatine's own aide, stepped forward holding a recording device. His hands trembled, but his resolve was firm. He had discovered discrepancies in Senate records that pointed to Palpatine's manipulations, and Obi-Wan had convinced him to monitor this meeting. "I've been documenting the Chancellor's irregular activities for months, Masters Jedi. Senator Organa approached me with concerns about constitutional violations. I thought he was merely corrupt. I never imagined. Traitors! Take him to the temple. Maximum security. And send word to all military commanders. Any orders from the Chancellor's office in the last 72 hours are hereby rescinded." What orders? Something called Order 66, a contingency order to eliminate all Jedi as traitors to the Republic. It was encoded to activate upon the Chancellor's command. The weight of what they'd just prevented settled over the room like a shroud. Across the galaxy, millions of clone troopers continued their battles, unaware that they'd nearly become the instruments of genocide. On Kashyyyk, Yoda's hologram flickered. He was already moving to secure the situation with the Wookiees. On Utapau, Obi-Wan would soon confront Grievous, but now without the shadow of betrayal hanging over him. The medical bay of the Jedi Temple had never hosted a birth before, much less the birth of twins to a sitting senator and a Jedi Knight. But these were unprecedented times, and the Force itself seemed to sing as Luke and Leia Skywalker entered the world, healthy, powerful, and very much alive. Padme, exhausted but radiant, held her daughter while Anakin cradled their son, tears streaming freely down his face. Around them, the Council had gathered, not in judgment, but in wonder. Even Yoda had returned from Kashyyyk, the successful capture of Grievous having ended the war indefinitely. Strong in the Force they are, a new hope for the future perhaps. The question remains, what do we do about this? The code is clear about attachment. The code was written for a different time, a time of peace when the Jedi could afford absolute detachment. But look what that detachment nearly cost us. If Anakin hadn't trusted us with his visions, if he'd kept his fears secret, Sidious would have turned him. I know, the boy's attachment to his family saved the Republic. More than that, his willingness to trust us, to be vulnerable, allowed us to prevent catastrophe. Perhaps the code needs revision. The debate that followed would reshape the Jedi Order. Not overnight, such changes never happen quickly, but gradually. Anakin was allowed to remain, though his situation was deemed exceptional. Other Jedi began to question the absoluteness of their restrictions. Some left the Order to pursue lives of service in different ways. Others stayed but pushed for reform. A balancing between attachment and duty, between love and service. Possible it may be, though careful we must remain. 5 years passed. The Republic had transformed, not into an empire, but into something newer, more flexible. The Galactic Federation, some called it, with power truly distributed among its member systems. The Jedi still served, but as advisors and peacekeepers, not generals. Their temple on Coruscant had become a place of learning open to all Force sensitives, not just those taken as infants. Anakin stood on the temple's highest tower, watching the sunset paint Coruscant in shades of gold and crimson. His children played at his feet. Luke attempted to levitate a toy starfighter, while Leia corrected his technique with all the authority a 5-year-old could muster. Padme emerged from the turbolift, having finished another session of the reformed Senate. Any word from Obi-Wan? He's reached the Outer Rim territories, setting up another Force Academy on Dantooine. He says the locals are surprisingly receptive. And Sidious? Still in his cell, still ranting about his inevitable victory. Master Yoda thinks he's trying to reach out through the Force, looking for new apprentices. But he won't find them. Not anymore. The galaxy knows what the Sith truly are now. Does it? Or have we just delayed the inevitable? The dark side will always exist, Padme. There will always be those who seek power above all else. Perhaps, but there will also always be those who stand against them. And now, they don't have to stand alone. Luke's triumphant shout drew their attention. He'd finally gotten the toy to hover. Leia applauded sarcastically, then demonstrated her own superior technique. Watching them, Anakin felt the Force swirl around his family, bright and warm and alive. Whatever darkness might come, whatever future threats emerged, they would face them together. The Chosen One had brought balance to the Force, not through destruction and redemption, but through trust, love, and the courage to challenge traditions that no longer served their purpose. The galaxy still faced challenges, still harbored darkness in its corners, but for now, in this moment, the light prevailed. Somewhere deep in the temple's maximum security wing, Darth Sidious sat in his cell, his yellow eyes burning with unquenched hatred. He had lost his battle, but the war between light and dark was eternal. He would wait. The Sith had waited 1,000 years before. They could wait again. But above, in the light of the setting sun, a family stood together, not in defiance of the Force, but in harmony with it. The future stretched before them, uncertain but bright with possibility. Luke and Leia would grow to be powerful Force users, trained by both their parents and the reformed Jedi Order. They would face their own challenges, make their own choices, but they would do so with the knowledge that love and duty need not be enemies. The Republic had survived, the Jedi had evolved, and in a galaxy that might have known only darkness and tyranny, Hope prevailed. As the twin sons of Tatooine set on another world, as star systems continued their ancient dance through the void, the Force itself seemed to whisper a truth that both Jedi and Sith had forgotten. Balance was not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. Not the rejection of attachment, but the wisdom of love without possession. Anakin Skywalker had not become Darth Vader. He had become something far more powerful. A father, a husband, a Jedi who proved that the greatest strength sometimes comes from admitting our own greatest weaknesses. The galaxy would remember him not as a fallen hero redeemed, but as a man who chose to trust when everything in him screamed to hide. And in that choice, the fate of billions changed forever. If you enjoyed this journey into the shadows of what might have been, remember to hit that subscribe button and join us for more explorations of the infinite possibilities within that galaxy far, far away. May the Force be with you, always.